So, yesterday we got a new trailer for Bendy and the Dark Revival. Not only did we get a ton of information about the game, but we got a release date as well. November 15th, exactly 2 weeks from now. And I am strangely excited. I say strangely because this heart barely pumps over 2 thumps a minute. Now, normally how one would address a trailer such as this is to talk about what they saw and then recite their feelings on each subject. Except I don't feel like doing that. Because there is only one thing that I really want to talk about, and likely you know what it is. It is the final surprise of the teaser. Well, surprise is sort of a stretch, as I'll get to in a minute. I was expecting him, I was waiting for him, and here he is. Bendy, or perhaps Perfect Bendy or Friendly Bendy. Or Baby Bendy as I will fondly call him. The real Bendy is the culmination of what Joey wanted to create but failed when creating the Ink Demon. He is the closest thing to a living cartoon throughout the cycle, rivaled only by the most perfect of Boruses. This is our only glimpse of him in the trailer, but not our first look at him. Indeed, Perfect Bendy had plenty of merch released before he was. Plush toys, keychains, all sorts of stuff. With this shirt her being what I consider to be the biggest confirmation of Bendy when I saw it just over a year ago. All the other stuff was just Bendy variations, arguably, but this showed him with the lost ones. This put him in the world. Perfect Bendy's design is peculiar. His eyes move and blink in an animated way, but his face almost looks like a mask mounted into his ink body, with ink bubbling over the top and around the edges. And even having a chip taken out of the side. We see only this expression, but the fact he blinks suggests that maybe he can emote. Or maybe he can't. Or maybe his mask comes off and reveals rows of sharp teeth underneath like he came out of a basement in Silent Hill. Only time can tell. So, what do we know about this Perfect Bendy? Well, before we dissect that, let's discuss what the creators have said about Dark Revival. It is said to be neither a prequel or a sequel, but a continuing or reimagining. What I think is this is their way of saying that it's another cycle. Basically, Bendy and the Ink Machine implies that the events in the studio are repeating themselves, and the tagline for this game is Break the Cycle. This might be another cycle, or an alternate timeline, or any of that. Though we can confirm that Allison and Twisted Alice do exist, so there must be some familiar faces. Why I bring this up is because this may be or may not be the Ink Bendy we see in the original game. I know that seems confusing, but let me explain. Firstly, we know that Perfect Bendy and Ink Bendy are both characters from the merchandise and at least one of them is benevolent. Ergo from the teaser hint referring to the Benevolent Demon, which I guess is Bendy's full name. We know from this trailer that Bendy still has followers, but it is unclear which Bendy they follow. Sammy is supposed to make a return and Perfect Bendy seems to be contained, so it is likely Ink Bendy who has followers. Indeed, there also seems to be propaganda against who defeated the Ink Demon. While this would imply that the defect of Beast Bendy already happened. Due to it maybe being an alternate universe, it is possible that Ink Bendy was also defeated in this cycle and the revival is him being brought back. Yes, I know that's confusing. But you know what else is confusing? Are there two separate Bendys or is this a Jekyll and Hyde situation? Or perhaps a situation where passive Bendy is cute and safe, but when he gets mad or scared he goes into beast mode. There's not enough to tell, but it does look like there's a hole broken in the wall in the back of his cell. Though this could just be natural damage. Speaking of which, let's talk about where Perfect Bendy is. It is not confirmed, but it may be this home for Mad and Mutes ran by this lady brought over from Showdown Bandit. Bendy may be mad or mute and contained in there. I would guess because I feel like if Sammy had him he would be being worshipped and if the villain had him he would be under worst. We can assume that Bendy either is or is pretending to be docile, as he seems comfortable in his surroundings, and another teaser image shows him kind of hanging out with Audrey. We really can't go off of personality from this short point alone. We can't even be too sure that Bendy's not faking being innocent to throw us off, like an actual demon might. It is interesting to note that if Allison and Tom are the perfect Alice and Boris, they don't actually act like the two's established characters. Boris is laid back and somewhat lazy with a ferocious appetite, and he seems to have a good degree of patience in the comics. This is a sharp contrast to Tom, but not to Buddy, who might have been the actual perfect Boris. Alice is sort of like a Betty Boop type in short words, kind and sweet but also occasionally sassy. Allison doesn't ring like this at all. Of course, it could just be their situations, but if this is any indication, then Bendy might not reflect the Bendy character either. The Bendy character, by the way, is a mischievous and cunning, but still good-hearted and innocent little imp. Bendy frequently gets in over his head, but he isn't the malicious type. A sharp contrast to Ink Bendy too. I'll be honest, I'm downright shocked that Bendy isn't Henry. The fact that he's playing with a car gives the illusion of something more childish, and, while this may be an act, I think that's enough to show that this isn't Henry. Whether or not Henry doesn't exist in this universe or is replaced by Audrey, I actually think the two are likely related directly, is unclear. But there were heavy hints in Bendy and the Ink Machine that Henry had gone through the well of voices and could have been turning into something else. Him being the next Bendy would have been thematically appropriate. That being said, I can't deny that I love the cuter version of Bendy we're getting. Save the fact that I'm deathly afraid something's going to kill him. Look, I much more prefer Backstabber Bendy than Baby Bendy getting buried 6 feet under. So, in the end, we know pretty much nothing about Bendy. Except that he is going to play a very important role in the story. That's a pretty flat note to end on, I know, but there's really not much to go on. This, Benevolent Demon, and a lot of merch. That being said, I'm very excited to love, cry over, and then pick apart various aspects of Bendy. Let's hope this is the Bendy episode that doesn't end in tears.